What's up? Welcome to Cypress Roots. Sorry about that. I'm really bad at this recording thing. Um, Disclaimer, I'm not doing this to encourage people to do drugs or to do anything of the sort. This is video for history, video so people can have a story to listen to on a long drive. And also, I'm a hypocrite. Anyways, this story is hard for me. Sorry, I got music that I'm trying to keep in sync. I'm trying to keep this music in sync. Anyways, this story's hard to tell. I've tried telling it several times, and it feels impossible. Sorry, I gotta be vain for a second. It feels impossible. It looks no better. Anyways, I'm trying to get my shit dreaded soon. This story's been hard to tell. I've tried to tell it a couple of times, and it feels impossible. But something always comes up, so I'm gonna try to spit it out before things get strange. Anyways, 2.5 years ago, me and my ex moved into our own apartment out of Chester, and we acquired some LSD. This was to celebrate, her working so hard at a new job that's basically a trade, and me basically being jobless, but taking care of the household, the 3 dogs and cat we had. Doing all the house stuff that she couldn't find time to do because she was working so hard. And in a relationship, you have to make those kinds of sacrifices. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, we were trying to find a weekend so we could rekindle our relationship, because that's what we did. We did drugs to bridge the gap that it usually would take for people who don't. And in the end, that wasn't what was wrong with our relationship. It's actually what helped it flourish. So, since I need less to say about that, I'm gonna move on. We find a weekend to do some LSD, and we call our friend over. I can't seem to come up with some mysterious name, so I'm not. I call her Flower Child. Anyways, Flower Child came over, and we all started getting comfy, rolling blunts, getting ready for a valley ride, and I offered an idea to put the puppies up, because I don't like the idea of having animals out while we're in the mix, especially tripping, because things always get weird. I don't want an animal to get hurt. So we put the puppies up, and we go out for a ride. And usually the house is pretty fucking clean, because I clean it. I'm a neat freak, even though my room is messy as fuck right now. I got an amp sitting right in front of me, towels over here, my pad over here, and slippers should be under the bed. Anyways, I've been a mess, but it's a good mess right now. But the house is pretty clean, so we let the dogs out, and we go for a ride. We come back. We're basically tripping now, so we're chilling. We're having a good time. We're loosening up, and I go in the bedroom to set things up. PlayStation 3, put on a good movie, and I had a projector that took up the entire wall. So the wall was about like 3 yards across, so it was pretty fucking big. And my projector could take up almost that whole wall, maybe about like this much before the door. And I put on Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away, and let that play through. I chilled back, and I smoked a bowl to myself while the girls were in the living room playing with the puppies. They kind of talked me into it, so I was like, whatever. I was like, I don't pay the bills here, so I don't even know why you're asking me. That's kind of how I thought about it. But she always respected me, even though I didn't contribute that much money-wise. Time passes by, and they're in the living room, and I start tripping hard enough that the movie starts playing backwards, and I can feel a loop getting ready to start. So I didn't know how to call her name out, so I kind of just did it like mentally. I was just like, I hope that you can hear that I'm having trouble in here right now. And to help the story, I took 3 taps this time, and because I wanted to have fun. You know, we made a big move from a Section 8 house to an apartment where as soon as you walk outside, you can see the river. Not a river, river. You can see the ocean. No, you can't see the ocean. You can see the big river that follows 495 from Smyrna all the way into Wilmington and then Newcastle, because I live in Delaware. Anyways, she comes in, she talks me down, and things get easier, but I'm still tripping pretty hard. So I decided to go for a walk to see if I can like collab myself into the trip. So I take the dog for a walk and I get fucking lost, obviously, because I'm tripping hard. And all the apartments look the same, because it's whatever, they look the same. I made a left, I made a right, I made a left, and then I made the wrong right, and I just got fucking lost. Funny thing was, I was only 5 houses down from our house. I just couldn't fucking tell what it looked like. So they drove into the car to come find me. They picked me up and picked me and the dog. We go back to the house to go hang out and smoke another blunt because I'm kind of losing my shit, but in a healthy way. Like, I'm not freaking out. I'm just like, don't know what's going on. So we finished smoking that blunt and we're playing with the puppies. And these puppies are from a 8 litter. We got rid of the 6, and we only had 2 left, obviously. And these were puppies we were kind of getting close to. We named them and everything because kind of felt like we had to. The funny thing is, Flower Child, she's smart, but she's very forgetful sometimes. And she forgot to put the ashtray up after she put the blunt out. And that's a big thing. That's a warning to you guys. Don't leave your roaches around animals because they're not always just going to ignore it. Some of them might eat it, and if they're young animals, they don't know how to process activated weed. Activated weed can be dangerous to an animal and get them to be sick. Not die, but get them to be sick. And some animals don't know how to react to that, so technically their body takes it as poison. I could be wrong, but that's how this dog reacted to it, and that's how Google has been translating it to us this whole time we're trying to read it. I just remember hearing a scream when I was in the other room, and it wasn't like a big scream, it was just like a oh my god scream. And I go into the other room, the living room, and they're holding the puppy and they're over top of it, and half of its face is like sagged down, and it's like kind of like not shriveled up, but it's like twitching, but it's still alive. It's like its tail's wagging, and it knows we're like trying to give it attention to make sure it's okay. And to not freak you guys out too much, the puppy ended up being okay. No animals got hurt. It's just dogs have a hard time processing. Puppies have a hard time processing that stuff. So we are freaking out because we think the dog's gonna die because we're all tripping, and I'm stuck in a loop because I'm getting ready to peek and I'm freaking out, and I didn't know what to do, so I'm thinking, and I'm kind of like pacing to get myself into what should we do mode, and they're freaking out. And the funny thing is, our friend Flower Child was thinking of what we should do, and I think that thought was such a good idea that like it overtook the rest of our ideas and like the space of everything, because I could feel it. I could feel that we needed to leave the house and go find her shaman friend, and it's somebody who's in the works to become a shaman, but there are different pages to shamans. Just like there are different religions, there's different ones that follow certain orders, and this one was kind of a dark one, but in a good way. So Flower Child was kind of like insinuating that we should do that, and I could kind of like read her mind. We were all kind of getting into that high where we could telepathically read each other's minds. And before that decision became final, I had gotten into a loop where I went into the kitchen 3 times, kind of stuck. Each time I went into the kitchen, I felt like I should drink the wine bottle that we had. It was pink wine, which is not really my favorite, but it helps balance them out because they're both pretty good drinkers. I don't drink at all. I'm terrible at it. But the third time of me getting into the kitchen and getting stuck in that loop, something told me to drink the wine. And once I did, my ex came into the kitchen and it was basically like bantering me, like, why are you doing that? Why? Do you really think it's a good idea to be doing this right now? We should be figuring out what's up with the puppy. And I'm like, we need to take it to Laura's friend. And I just gave out a name. fuck it, I didn't give out her full name. You'd have to go find her. So I'm just gonna keep calling her Flower Child. Anyways, Flower Child. Um, she she had this friend that we were gonna take the puppy to, and we had trouble getting down the steps after like packing her bags and stuff like that because we couldn't figure out how to properly leave the house because I was tripping hard, way hard, and Flower Child was kind of tripping, but not as hard as I was. She's kind of just having a hard time not taking blame for the situation because she didn't mean to get the dog sick. And it was nobody's fault, it's just accidents happen. Like I said, the dog ended up being fine, but it was hard for her to accept because she's a super big animal person, like works at animal clinics and everything, so it was hard for her. So we're going down the steps, and me and my ex are like bickering back and forth, and finally, I remember thinking someone else's thought was, is this really going to be the break in our relationship? And I remember Flower Child turning around and being like, no, this isn't going to be the break in your relationship. And neither of us said a word, but me and my ex looked at each other like, whoa, that was weird. So we gather the rest of our consciousness up, leave the house with the dog or the puppy in hand, and my ex drives because it's her work truck, and Flower Child sits on the right side of me because my ex wanted me closer to her because I was holding the puppy. And for some reason, they gave me the responsibility of holding the puppy, and I felt like I needed to hold it anyways. I felt kind of connected to the dog because in the midst of us going outside, I could hear the physicality of the dog shifting around. Like its bones moving, its blood pumping, all of it. I could hear everything moving inside of this dog, down to the smallest thing. Like, I'm surprised I didn't hear the dog's thoughts, but I probably did, but the dog doesn't speak English, so we all get in the car, and I'm so stoned that I instantly close my eyes, and I just sit there. And all I remember is seeing lights everywhere, because it's nighttime now, and I remember feeling like we're in a spaceship flying so fast. And we were flying fast because my ex was worried about the dog's health. And we get to the spot we're getting at, but before that, I'm telling you, if you've seen the movie Due Date, where they're like smoking weed, eating snacks, that's the moment. That's how it felt. It felt like I was really like flying in a spaceship. And I could feel me trying to push off, just be okay to the puppy. So we get there, we get out, and this is when things kind of like, I start freaking out because I've been peaking for like 3 hours, and this has never happened before. I get out of the truck, and none of us talked about what happened in the truck, but we all felt it. Something weird happened. Like we had just felt like we went through a portal. But we get down to her friend, who I'm gonna call Moon. Moon was a cool guy. He seemed really hippy dippy, and he called us in. He had 2 friends already hanging out with us, I think. The number's not really all that important because what happened next was important. We set the puppy down on some blankets, and we sat down at the table trying to talk about what to do with the puppy. And he said, the dog will be fine. All we need to do is help its neural pathway or something like that readjust to being sober dog. Like the dog basically had a stroke or a seizure or something like that from the weed, and that it would take some time for it to just like heal from it. So we're all talking, just hanging out, and the puppy really wasn't moving too much. It was kind of like, but it would wag its tail and it would look up and it would just be in good vibrations. So when we laid it down, it didn't move. It didn't know what to do. So we're all talking around this round table, and I'm so within my head that it's not that things stopped being real, but things got too real. I could feel us talking about how life works, which I didn't know why we were talking about that, because the dog was sick. But for some reason I trusted Moon because his energy's like, I felt like all the bad energy was going to him, like he was sucking it in. I later found out he was more of a dark shaman, but in a good way, you know what I mean? Like dead crows and blood and all that stuff, but he did it with good intent. And the reason I don't especially give his name out is because later in my years he actually helped me with something with dark magic, and I'm not going to give too much of that away because basically my belief in dark magic is only dark because you don't know how to explain it to people. When you learn how to explain it to people, you don't want to explain it to people because it's personal. It's something that you do to yourself, not to others, but if you were to do it to others, it would be black. Anyways, I could feel the dark energy going towards him, and like that, the dog got better. And it started running around the room, and when I mean running, I mean it wasn't doing any of that before. It looked like it was going to die. So the mood lifts, but I could feel something shift in me. It seemed like everybody was smarter than me at the time and talking about something like in between what we were actually talking about. Like what we were talking about wasn't exactly what we were talking about. It was like, how do I put it? There were different meanings behind the words we were using. So I've had it happen to me before when I was too high and ended up at work, and every time I would talk to somebody, I knew there was a different motion behind it, like we were having a different conversation than what we were actually having. And that's what was going on. And it started getting kind of dark, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And my ex could feel that. I could feel basically the price it took to get that dog to feel better from our intention and base, if that makes sense, which probably doesn't to you guys, but I'm not going to push the topic, just maybe you'll figure it out later. But we pack up all our stuff and we leave, and things are starting to like kind of calm down. I'm not in between the conversation anymore, but something made me feel weird, like I was going to have to talk to this person again, and I did, but it's hard to explain. The story is really close to my chest, and it made me realize that I could probably believe in something. I just didn't know what yet. I didn't know what it was going to be. Questions with answers, just to find more questions. I'm coming up to 17 minutes, so I appreciate you guys hanging around for this story. That's basically it. Like, we got in the car and went back home, and we talked about how everything felt weird, and there was one more thing. He gave me a lighter to light my cigarette with, and I almost kept it, but someone told me not to keep it, so I made sure I gave it back to him. Like, now that I think about it, back in the old days, people believed in spirits and gods heavily, and now we have different things to believe in. And I feel like a lot of those gods that we believed in were real. And me keeping that lighter was like me keeping a part of him with me, which was kind of like a spell so that he could get energy from me. I don't know how to say it, dude. I just sound like a loose cannon really right now. And I feel uneducated to talk about it. I'm sorry to ramble like that. Anyways, like I said, I'm not doing this for views. I'm more or less doing this for educational purposes, so I can meet more people who've probably had more experiences like this, where you meet somebody and you feel like your life's changed from it. You just aren't smart enough to know how. So before I hit 20 minutes, I will say this story was not very nostalgic in a good way. It was hard to talk about. I'm sorry for the confusion, and happy travels. I promise the next one will be better.